Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We're going to give it just like 30 seconds for anyone else in the waiting room to join the group. So hang tight for about 30 seconds and then we'll get going. All right, I'm going to say it was a fast 30 seconds because I'm not seeing the numbers jump anymore. So again, good afternoon. Welcome to Career Buzz Arts Edition. My name is Jennifer Barber. I'm the Executive Director of your Sacramento State Alumni Association, and I will be acting as your moderator for today's discussion. This session of Career Buzz, as I mentioned, is focused on the arts, and I'm honored to be working with such a wonderful group of Sacramento State alumni, and I'm thrilled for you to hear from their diverse experiences and success stories and figure out ways that you can apply that within your journey. Career Buzz connects students and recent graduates with our diverse alumni network through a Q&A discussion and networking format. So today we'll be taking advantage of the experiences of these three Sacramento State alumni who will share the impact within the community that they are having within their profession, and know that they are volunteering their time today as part of our larger goal to keep alumni engaged with each other and students. We're excited to showcase their successes and hear directly from them about their experiences, but more importantly, for them to share some advice with you. I'd like to get started with introductions, and rather than have me read off their names and credentials, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves with name, major or degree, class year, what you are doing professionally, who is your employer, and a fun fact. So I am going to start with Pablo.
Hi, everybody. I sound okay? Okay. So I'm a high school teacher, Pablo Castellanos. Sorry, I'm all out of order here. Vista Del Lago High School. Been teaching for 15 years. When did I graduate? 2007. Studio art major. Something I missed, Jennifer?
A fun fact.
Fun fact. I have a lot of fun facts. Here's one. I actually had a job in the military that involved me drawing pictures of landscapes. It was kind of cool. I thought it was cool. Most people have never heard of that, so I'm proud of it too.
That's great. Thank you. Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Michelle Cordova. I two-dimensional art studies, art studio, BA, and I have my own creative business, Michelle Cordova Art, where I teach and I paint. And also I work for the art department now at Sac State. Fun fact, I sing as well. I'm a writer and a singer as well.
Creative all the way around. That's awesome.
All the way, yes.
All right, Brianna.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Brianna James. I graduated in 2016 with my BA in Sociology and my associate in theater and dance. I'm the CEO and founder of Tru Xpression. It's an art-based organization. I'm also a specialist at Castellanos River College at the moment. I also serve as your vice president for the VAPA alumni chapter and director at large for the Black alumni chapter. Fun fact about me, I've produced two films that include spoken word, dance, and I'm looking to do a third one. I coined myself as a community arts advocate, and it's what I'm passionate about.
Fantastic. And for those of you in the room who may not know what VAPA stands for, VAPA is our Visual and Performing Arts Alumni Chapter. So a great place for you to find a home and community amongst those who love and work and hobby in the arts, all the different opportunities. So we are going to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes hearing firsthand from our three panelists about their career journey, successes, ways that they've innovated within their career space, as well as sharing advice on how to make the most of your experiences in college and beyond. We will not be taking questions during the panel discussion. However, we encourage you to put questions in the chat. We have another staff member monitoring the chat for questions. And at the end, we're going to try and reserve about 10 minutes to cover Q&A and make sure that those questions are answered to the degree possible. And please also know we are recording this session, so it will be shared after the fact, probably in a couple of weeks, so that you can revisit any comments that you wanted to revisit. All right, with that, let's jump in. So I thought it'd be great to get started with a fun icebreaker. We heard a fun fact from each of you, but now we're going to take that in a little different direction and talk about your first job and what are some of the life lessons that you took from your first foray into the workforce. Let's start with Michelle because she's smiling very big.
I am. So I had a few small jobs. My first real job was at a bookstore, and I learned how to communicate with people, customers, coworkers. One of the biggest takeaways was admitting what I don't know, if that makes sense. Because if you act like you know everything, you don't learn. So admit what you don't know, ask questions, and just keep that communication going with whoever you're working with, your coworkers, the public, students. Now, in my case, I'm working for the art department. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do, to admit you don't know something and ask questions, but 100%. And I think that crosses lines of almost any career field you may find yourself in. So thank you. Brianna.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I agree, Michelle. I learned that a little bit later on. So good for you for learning that soon. Let's see. Okay, so my first job, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but I worked at the Wackford Community Center out in Elk Grove. During that time, I was still in high school, and all of my friends were getting jobs at like McDonald's, Taco Bell, and I was just like, I like food. I can't work there because I'll eat all the food. So I taught basketball. I refereed soccer. I did all kind of like just recreational things, summer camps. It was so much fun, and I kept that job. One thing I will say is lack of communication can be detrimental. That was the biggest thing, and it has continued to follow me throughout my journey now. And what I mean by that is I remember either whether I was going to be late or maybe I had to um, say I couldn't make a shift. I remember the anxiety that gave me as a young person with it being my first job, and it almost crippled me to where I didn't show up. I didn't say anything. I didn't show up. No calls, no shows. And the lack of communication really hindered, of course, my relationship with my boss, but just other coworkers. And so in that position, it was hard, but I think it was because I didn't want to disappoint people. But I had to get past that and really understand just how important communication really is. So that was my takeaway.
Thank you, Brianna. And another great one, because communication also threads through any career field you're in. And often the things we drag our feet the most on hurt us the most by not just ripping off the Band-Aid and doing it, saying it, putting it out there. So thank you for sharing that experience. Pablo.
Wow. So you guys, you're awesome. It's communication. I try to think of all of a sudden something different. I knew what I was going to say, but my first job was at Chuck E. Cheese. So number one, wearing the mouse costume is not as glamorous as you think. If you wanted to try that out, I don't recommend. Yeah, that thing is nasty. Also, kids just abuse you. Anyway, it was communication. Like I was like 17 or 16, my first job, and I loved it there. I loved it at Chuck E. Cheese. But it's fast, and you have to listen, and you have to respond, and there's people between you and the customer. I made the pizzas. And so I just learned, like, if I care about my team and I care about my job, like I'm gonna ask questions when I need to, and I'm going to listen actively, and I'm going to verbalize my thoughts. And I feel like I learned a lot as a 16-year-old just from working at Chuck E. Cheese. Okay. I think I'm gonna leave it at that because there's something else about communication I wanted to share, but I believe we're going to talk about that later. Thank you.
I think the other thing I'd take away from your experience is you must have really developed a good sense of patience, working with children who would even hit the mouse or abuse the mouse. That's sad.
More than you think.
All right. Well, since we are here primarily talking to students and recent grads, let's kind of take a little trip backwards and reflect on what advice you got as either a student or a recent grad that really helped propel you to where you are today. It helps set that foundation of how you wanted your career to take shape. Brianna, do you want to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, one piece of advice I will never forget. It was given to me from my EOP counselor at the time, Mr. Jerry Blake, and I think he's still on campus. And I remember him saying to me, he listened to all my dreams, all my goals, and everything that I want to do. And he said, well, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And I took that piece of advice and I was just like, oh, that's right. And then as I started getting older, people started to recommend me, or, I always tell people who have said my name in rooms that I had no access to, thank you. Because they knew my work, or they knew what I was capable of. And so I kind of like start to get my, face out there or what I was doing. And so on campus, I became really involved, whether it was small things or connecting with people, helping people. I remember being on campus and as a dancer, I would create choreography for like the Divine Nines pageants, or, getting involved with theater and dance. And, I mean, they're together, but sometimes the dance students and the theater students hang out separately, and trying to like get together with them. And so that was one of the biggest pieces of advice that still rings true to this day. And if you guys know who Jerry Blake is, that conversation was just full of life, and it gave me hope. And it's not like you have to be friends with everybody, but at least put your best foot forward. And that conversation or that topic can go into so many other things, like first impressions and different things like that. But I hold true to that even to this day. Sometimes it is about who knows you.
And I think you're 100%. That pairs very well with first impressions. There are plenty of people out there that aren't going to give you a second chance, and so that first impression is important. And we don't always all arrive to our day feeling our best, but putting as best possible that forward is fantastic. All right, how about Michelle?
Yay. It's very simple, but it resonates through my whole life, is keep going no matter what. I've been rejected from juried shows. Being an artist is up a roller coaster, ups and downs. You just keep going, showing up, putting your name out there, creating art, no matter what anyone, just keep going. And your goals will be achieved if you keep focused on them and just keep going.
Love that positive mindset, and not letting the steps backward or the non-step forward deter you from reaching those goals. Thank you. Pablo.
Yeah, thank you. So those are both really good points, and I think I've learned both of those lessons continuously. But I have one thing I learned at Sac State that I thought was a little bit different, especially like growing up in a household where you didn't, as a man, like you didn't ask people for help, right? So I went to college, and I didn't say to my professors like, "That's going to be, I can't get that done." I never did. I just tried to do everything all the time. Same with my family. And Dan Fry, the late Dan Fry, department chair in the BAPA department, he did his little consult with me. I think I was a junior. And I was saying, I don't know if I can keep studying art because, something about after college, what kind of jobs I'm going to be able to get. He said, "Do you love doing it?" said, yeah. And he said, then just do it. And he said, if you need something, you have to ask people, you have to just ask people. And at that time, I kind of did need some things. So I talked to some of my professors and I talked to my family. Of course, tons of help comes in, and it was okay to ask for things. It was the first time in my life I'd ever asked for something, like, can I have an extension on this? Can I get some help, at my house or something? I mean, I got help and I just thought, I don't know, I'm still not 100% comfortable, but Dan Fry really got me through a tough time. And I'll never forget that. It's okay to ask for help.
That's powerful. And, also kind of being given permission to some degree to pursue your passion without, worrying about, well, what am I going to do someday with it? Just if you love it, do it. I love that. Thank you. All right. Let's pivot to the workplace for a moment and put yourselves in the position of you're hiring somebody to help in your business, help in the art department, help with your class at school. What are the qualities that you are looking for? Not necessarily skills, so not how well they could paint or draw or sing, but what are some of the qualities that you are looking for, and whether you're looking for that on the resume or in an interview discussion setting? Pablo, you want to go first this time?
Sure. I really enjoy being on interview panels. It's exciting for me because this is a person, a new person. There's so much potential. I know one thing that maybe I'm not quite looking for, but what I don't like to see is when somebody comes in with any sort of blaming somebody, right? Like my old boss, or I would have done better, but everybody, when they start talking like that, I think pretty much every panel I've been on is like, that's not our candidate, so no matter where you come from, take accountability, but most important, just don't blame people for any mistakes you made. What I'm looking for is like a positive attitude. I'm looking for somebody who listens. We have had interview panels where the person comes in, maybe they're nervous, but they don't listen. They're not really listening to the questions. They're just talking. And no matter what their skills are, we know that they might be that way as a team member. And so we don't usually hire those people. So listen attentively. Don't blame people. And just be yourself. You can tell when somebody's not being themselves, try to be as comfortable as you can. Rehearse.
Yeah. Own it. Yeah. Run through how you would answer questions. That's great advice. Thank you. Brianna.
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing would be being a lifelong learner. If you're not coachable, it's very difficult to I guess really appreciate what you do know, but also help you to what you can learn. There's no one that knows everything. Even for myself, I like to say I'm a lifelong learner. So me being able to be coachable, even in all the years of what I do know in my field, there's always an expert out there that can help you, or maybe give you what one of my mentors calls a borrowed perspective. Like you may not have all the information or the facts about something, but if you borrow somebody's perspective, you may be able to see it in a different way. I will also be looking for people who are solution based. There are a lot of problems in the world, even in the small situations and big situations. So even if you approach something, and you may not have the right solution, and it still may be questions about that, but at least looking to find a solution. I do actually have staff, and that's one thing I do expect of them is to um, see if there are any solutions, and we can always work on that together. So those would be my big two.
That is great. And boy, you took me back to one of my first jobs right out of college, where I had a boss, and he was very clear from day one. He's like, I want you to be thinking about the problems and the solutions. So don't come to me and say, what do I do about this? Think about it. Tell me, what's the problem? What's the background? What's your recommendation? And that has stuck with me throughout my career. Problem, background, recommendation. Wow. Thank you for that trip down memory lane there.
For
All
sure.
right. Michelle.
I gotta say, I am learning from this panel. Like I'm learning stuff. For me, it's someone who shows up, and I not only mean literally, but someone who's responsive, and you can tell that they really want something and they make the effort and they show up, with intention. Does that make sense? Like, I only have a little limited since I've been working in the art office here, hiring and so that's a new thing for me. And it's really just someone who, answers your emails, comes into the office on time, and literally shows up.
Well, and Michelle, you can stay unmuted because I think I'm going to start the next question with you because you kind of teed it up. When I know we're talking specifically about the arts and the field in which you all work and studied. What does a successful work style look like if you're really wanting to embrace a career in the arts, no matter what direction? What's the successful work style look like for you? How do you set goals for yourself, both day to day and long term, and kind of mark your progress?
Yeah, this is great. First of all, being an artist, you're in a community and you have to reach out to your community. I've learned so much talking with other artists. Show up at receptions, have your business card, hand it out, talk, start conversations. I know this is really practical and literal, but I make lists. I have lists and they keep me focused and on target for my goals. And if I didn't have these legal pads, I don't know if you can see it, with me all the time, I'm always making notes. And so not only talking to people, but actually writing things down, working on the progress that way. You can actually being an artist, you need some visual, things and actually writing it down. And then what was my other one? Yeah, just really staying focused on your goals and communicating with other professional artists. I've made it a point of becoming more professional and just always learning. Like Brianna said, you're always learning, talking, getting better. And that's a great way to be an artist, a professional artist.
Absolutely. Pablo, what would you add to that?
I love that. I love what she just said. I would add a couple of things that I do because I'm an artist. I really am. I've always been, but I'm a teacher, right? And I'm an educational leader. Like, so I don't get like a ton of time to make art. I get really jealous when I see people that make art all day. It's like I want to, but I'm mostly showing people how to draw a circle, But it's fun. I love my job. I love students. I love my colleagues. But what I do is like I have like a set of goals, right? And I write them down. I have a goal for like, in 5 more years, like I'm 45, like when I'm 50 and I'm looking at, whatever, how many years to retirement, like what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of responsibility do I want to have? In whatever job that is, I don't know yet. Then I have a goal like each year, like what's the one thing I want to get done this year? And then I have every week, like on Sunday, my wife gets annoyed. I like talk through my week all day long. I'm like, then Monday this, and she's like, shut up, isn't it on the calendar? But when I say it a few times, like it becomes like that scaffold I need, especially as an artist where I love to just be kind of wild. But if I know like Monday's the day I do that, then I do it. And then each day in my phone, I have my little punch list. It sounds like a lot, you guys, but it's really not. It's really just one big goal, one smaller goal, another one. There's a adjacent goals, but they're not as important. I do have something unique I learned from a book by Brian Tracy. It's called Eat That Frog. So my wife doesn't love this either. I have an expo marker where I shave and brush my teeth and I draw on the mirror. I literally have a big drawing of a frog there that I've had for about a year now. And I'll put one thing that's so important to get done the next day. And that's the thing. That's what I call eating my frog. The one thing I hate doing, I'm going to do it first because everything else won't suck as bad as that. And I put that one thing on the mirror. And if I can erase it that night, I'm so happy. I did it. I ate the frog. But I think it's just you have to do it for yourself, especially in the arts. Like we're given a lot of freedom to do a lot of different things, and we want to do so many things, but we have to really set goals for ourselves all the time. That's all.
Okay, I love the frog thing. I may not draw a frog because I don't know that it would look like a frog if I drew it, but I'm going to start writing on my bathroom mirror. I like that. And so true. The thing I don't want to do the most it either just eats me alive because I'm avoiding it, or I just get it done and the rest of my day feels great. So that's awesome. All right, Brianna.
Yes, I 100%. I want to go back to what Michelle said about being in community as a dancer. It's really important. There's a couple, actually a few, and wonderful, our bigger studios, and we have like a lot of smaller studios that are starting to pop up, and so just and initiatives and projects. There's so many things happening, and so being in community is so important because you start to be able to do projects together or create content together, or learn from one another. Me and one of my I guess best friends or sisters, we actually cultivated our businesses together. We sat down, and they're both dance businesses. They do similar things. However, we are both successful and we're in different areas of Sacramento. And so the biggest thing I think in the dance community is realizing there is enough for everybody. So it's okay to collaborate. It's okay to share. It's okay to be with one another. And there are moments where healthy competition like ribs you up and like, gives you that oomph to be like, step up your game, because sometimes you need that. But community is a beautiful thing, especially for the dance community in Sacramento. Now, a couple of things I do to stay organized. I do my years by quarters. So I do quarterly goals for myself. I call them my big three. What am I thinking or focusing on when it comes to my big three? And that's more high level. Lower level, that looks like I schedule, like what Pablo says, I schedule about 1 to 2 hours, no, 2 to 4 hours per week for my business. I work full time at CRC with the college students, but I have to implement at least 4 hours in my week for my business, because at the end of the day, it's my baby. And I've already told myself I'm be dancing for the rest of my life. So I got to organize it in there. Whoever, when I have kids, I'm still gonna be dancing. So um I find comfort, and it's for me. I love organization. I love lists too. Planner girly, stationary girly, all that. So it helps me organize, and it's not too much. You just gotta sit down and do it. Me and one of my good friends, she's also in the dance community. We hold each other accountable. So if you need an accountability person, do that as well. We sit down and we hold each other accountable every Sunday night. Sometimes she show up and I don't. And sometimes I show up and she don't, and she be like, where you at? And so having that accountability partner as well also makes us say we have to, and also, sorry, last thing, invest in your craft. Whatever you're doing, if you're an artist, as far as in like a digital artist, if you're a graphic artist, a dancer, a pottery maker, whatever you may do, invest in your craft. That money is going to come out anyway. There are lots of free resources in the community, especially now, lots of grants, lots of funding out there. Invest in your craft, because if you're going to be doing it for a long time, you might as well invest in your ability to, reach the level you want to reach, and do the things and get the resources or tools that you're going to need.
That's awesome. I really appreciate, especially the pit.
Jennifer.
Oh yeah, go
Oh,
Pablo.
I'm sorry. Go. Just before we go to the next question, can I add one more thing? That's all I want to say.
Yeah. I was just going to appreciate Brianna's shout out to accountability. And sometimes those projects that really feel overwhelming, you do need an accountability buddy if you're going to kind of make it over the peak and be successful. So shout out to that. Thank you. And Pablo, what did you want to add?
Okay, last thing, I have 5 children. If you are planning on having children or you have children, don't discount mornings, even if you're not a morning person. Changed my life. Like I'm up at 3:30. That's crazy, but my day, if I didn't do that, there's so many things in my life I couldn't do because I cannot prioritize other things over my children. So I need to do that. It's very important for me to do that because I want to be with my kids as often as much as possible in the day. That's all I'm saying. Don't discount being a morning person or changing yourself into one.
Okay.
That's all.
And that's a great reminder about not only setting professional goals, but setting priorities for your life that, and hopefully for most of us, include a balance of family and profession. So thank you. It's a great reminder. One of the things that we like to talk about is innovation, and what kind of innovation are you seeing within the landscape of the arts community? Whether that's AI, which we hear about all the time, and the different things it's doing and how that's impacting you, or other areas that you're seeing innovation within your space. So anyone want to take this one first? Oh,
I mean, I can go if
Yeah.
nobody else is. So I teach visual arts. I've taught digital arts also, graphic design, animation for a few years. I don't think that AI is affecting visual arts as much as maybe some people think it is. It's still, I know it's part of our workflow now, but in the visual arts, it's still more of a novelty. I know it helps the workflow of some like graphic designers and stuff, also losing some jobs that way. But I think not necessarily technology, but as far as like what's expected as an educator and an arts educator has really kind of turned up a few notches in the last maybe 10 years. It's a great thing for our students. We used to have a lot more, sorry guys, I'm in a school. We used to have a lot more freedom as like, you're our teacher as long as the parents aren't complaining. You're great. You're keeping your job forever. But now, like, we have standards, we're sticking to our standards. We're using professional learning communities with Fidelity. It's an amazing kind of system that's allowing more students to access art and at a higher level. I will say, if you go into the arts with an artist mindset, just be prepared to adjust that and shift that a little bit, because we are teaching art in a lot closer to maybe the way the science classes are teaching science. And it's not a bad thing. Like, give it a chance if you're going to go into the visual arts. That's all.
That's really interesting to hear that perspective and that shift in curriculum even, but probably helping set students passionate for the arts up for long-term success. So that's great. How about you, Brianna?
Yeah, so honestly, man, innovation comes from everywhere when you're a dancer. Like, and also, okay, let me stay on one topic. I get so excited sometimes talking about this stuff. So, being a dancer, like for me, I think my biggest thing has been my life's journey. And maybe that's because like I'm so in tune with what's going on with my world right now. But innovation comes through like personal experiences, and then also like family or friend experiences. I mean, at that point, I gotta be like, if it's obvious, I have to ask for permission, to explore or to be open with that. Like I said, and this will go to my next point. I've done films, so I've literally asked people to tell their stories or to be open and to be honest about their worlds, and I get creative ideas from that, right? And so innovation for me has come from within, but I say don't be afraid to explore something that's completely different. Um, that also means stepping outside of your natural art form. There's times I've wanted to explore visual arts or media arts and felt intimidated, or like I wouldn't say typecasted, or I'm labeled as a dancer, so I gotta stay in my dance area. I know that sounds weird, but it happens to us. But I find exploring the world, it allows for a different kind of creativity and not being fearful in doing that. Also trending topics. I also try not, as a dancer, I used to be very cautious about trending topics or trending dances, and there was a whole season where if you're a real dancer, you're not doing TikTok dances, right? And it's it sounds silly, but it's really like a thing. And you just got to get over being like how people see you And once you really are just comfortable in who you are, your innovation can really spark from anything. And just allow yourself to explore. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's okay. There's another opportunity to explore art. Art is forever. And that's what I think I love about it. And it gives you second chances and third chances and fourth chances. Art is infinite. So no matter what form is in. And so innovation can come from anywhere, whether you're moving like a flower, whether you're trying, this is what I do with our students. So we teach in our curriculum how to move like a flower, or how to move like what does a bear move like, or how does a snake move like? And so we use innovation from everything in the world.
That's awesome. And I also really appreciate the idea of looking out for innovative ideas and not being afraid to kind of change mediums or experiment in different areas. Thank you. Michelle, how about you?
I think for me that this question was maybe the more difficult one, but in terms of I think more practically. So I see how something works, whether it's in my job as administrative support or in art. When you make art, you come up with a process, and so innovation to me is like improving on something, right? So as you work, look for opportunities, even if they're small, to improve something. So it's always getting better, improving, or becoming easier. And that's how I thought of that question. It's really interesting, got me thinking the most actually. So I coming into this job at the art department, just seeing, don't come in and I won't, just little changes, little adjustments that work well, and just putting them out there and being okay with expressing that. And some of them may not go forward, but at least you're thinking about innovative techniques and moving forward and progressing. I hope that makes sense. I don't know.
It does. And I think a key component of that, which you didn't say, but I'm going to kind of layer on top, is
Yeah.
not being afraid of the feedback that others give you,
Yeah.
because a lot of innovation comes from feedback and input from others as well. Even people who question, well, why this way? And that's not a criticism. It's
Right.
kind of trying to understand thought processes and, are there other ways that could be mapped? So
Yeah.
I think that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're going to turn to advice. And you all talked earlier about advice that you received that really made an impact on your career journey. So this is your opportunity now to share with our students and recent grads who may be participating in this discussion. What would you share with a recent grad, a student, someone from the Hornet family here at Sacramento State, and you want to uplift them to encourage their growth? Michelle, again, big smile, so I'm going to call
Yeah.
on you.
I love what I really love talking with the students and inspiring them and seeing them. Like I was at graduation the other day and on Friday, and it was just really inspiring to me, or at an alumni event. It just gets you re-inspired. I my biggest advice and is to stay connected to Sac State. You have resources here. This is your home, right? Join the Alumni Association, claim your memberships, keep in touch with your professors if you can, and literally make an effort to email them and reach out and come back on campus, come to alumni events, stay connected. Sac State is here for you as a huge resource. And that's been important to me because I graduated in 97 and I stayed connected the whole time and felt that connection with the campus. And now I'm working here, and it's like I never, you know what I mean? And it helps you have a base to come back to.
And I usually save this plug for the end, but you really teed it up nicely. We are very fortunate looking at universities across the nation. Even our Career Center will continue to help alumni. So just because you've graduated doesn't mean there aren't resources here that can help you achieve your goals. If you're fearful of a revised resume or whatever the case may be, hit up our Career Center. They will certainly help you out. And then also another plug, if you do have questions coming to mind, please put those in the Q&A link at the bottom of the screen. And now I'm going to go back to Brianna for her advice.
Yes, thank you. And Michelle, thank you so much for saying that. Honestly, the Sac State has been wonderful. Back in 2023, I was able to bring my second film on campus, and that's where our second film premiere happened. So, as an alumni, they're always looking to have your back and really be there to support. So, I just wanted to tease on that. Use all your resources on campus. There's different resources that you can utilize when you're a student and when you're an alumni. I unfortunately didn't use all of mine until like my second to last year. And I was so upset because there was a whole tapped in world. I used to live in the well, and that was cool, but there was so many things beyond my understanding that was available to me as a student. So please take that advice. The two though that I will give is one is be ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's just I as a business owner for True Expression, I remember going after a grant, my first grant, and I had an inside man in there, and he was just like, I'm trying to get some information to give you so you can better apply for the grant. And they knew that he knew my business. Um, and so he couldn't vote, but he was able to help me out. And they were asking questions like, well, does she have an EIN? Does she have a website? Does she have a business card? Does she have anything? And at that point, I was like, no, I don't. And so as we talked about earlier about being a professional artist, right? If that's the route you want to take, because some of us, that's okay. We love our art and we want to protect it as a hobby. More power to you. But there are some of us that want to be a professional artist in whatever area we're in. And if you are, get ready so you are be ready so you have to get ready. So what does that look like for you? Does that look like you have a pottery social media? Do you have a dance website? Do you have a digital business card? I remember being in Uber and there was a dancer who was Ubering me, and I was like, "Oh man, I would love for you to perform at da 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 got coming up." And he was like, "Do you have a business card?" I was, "Ah, man, I have a business card, but I have a digital business card." And so we are able to handle it that way. But that's a small example of just being ready in the way, right? So I didn't have to get ready. Last but not least is follow through. Anything that you say you're going to do, follow through with it because your art is your footprint. And I unfortunately, even sometimes I still drop the ball, but you have to, taking it back to what we talked about earlier, communicate. If you can't follow through with what you said yes to, communicate, reschedule, stay in communication. Especially if you're a growing artist in the Sacramento area to the Bay Area. Um, your word and your follow through or lack thereof does follow you, and it takes so much to get that back. I lost out on a grant, y'all, like a grant, and this was like last year. I lost out on a grant because it was a lack of communication, but I had to wait on somebody else and then communicate with the person who wanted to give me the grant. But knowing what I know and being the professional that I am, I should have just taken a step and said, "Hey, like da 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 da," but I didn't get a chance to. And I thought I lost out on the grant. I thought I lost out on the partnership. Thankfully, like 6 months later, they're like, it's okay. Like, we'll try again next school year. And I was like, yes. But that won't always happen. Sometimes people will just write you off. And so, even as a professional who has years in the game, who has a business, I do it sometimes. So you're not alone. But make sure you follow through. It's really important.
Yeah, it will happen that you miss things or you can, often you can see you're going to miss them. And the key there is it's better to say, hey, I'm running late than just to miss a deadline or something else altogether, because that reputation piece, that is hard to rebuild. All right, Pablo, bring on your advice.
Wow, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff right there. Using your resources and at the college. I think I'm gonna start with what Brianna said though. It's follow through. I didn't plan to say that, but thinking back at my career, that's a real easy way to sort of like stymie your own progress. You follow through, right? So as especially as young people, right, you're going to be asked to do a lot of things. I think knowing how to say no, knowing what your limitations are, and being able to complete what it is you say you're going to complete. I mean, that's going to put you above, so many people around you. That's what's going to keep you moving forward in your job. I say that the other piece of advice I have is that no is just the beginning. So Sac State's a big university. You're gonna, if you go back to take advantage of the resources, some people are going to say no. Some people are going to say you can't do a certain thing, and listen to them, right? But try to understand why they're saying no. Sometimes there's a different way of doing it or a different way of asking. And I think throughout your life, learning that no can be just the beginning and just working, to communicate what it is you really want. I think you're going to get more than if you just take every no for a no. You're going to end up hitting a lot of dead ends that way. That's all.
And that to me, that kind of sparked one of the things that I kind of keep top of mind is I really try to under promise and over deliver. I don't want to be known as the person who doesn't follow up. I'd rather be known as the person who meets and exceeds. So, if you ask me how long do you need to do this project, in my head, I'm thinking a week. I'm going to tell you I need 2 weeks. And then if I deliver it to you in a week, you are thrilled. So, something to keep in mind within reason, of course, but under promise and over deliver. So let's wrap up with our final question for the panel. Let's go a little personal, a little fun. What goal, either professional or personal, would you still like to accomplish? Brianna, let's start with you.
Okay, let's see. I'll do professional and personal. I do have a lot of professional goals, but one, I don't see me like dancing on like a NFL or like a basketball team, but I definitely see me dancing. I'm just gonna like on a big stage somewhere, right? That's a professional goal of mine for the arts. I don't
Super
know.
Bowl halftime show. I
I
can
don't know.
see it.
There's,
Yeah.
there's, and have I done that? There's so many different things that I've done before. And, and I remember going to go watch, like, I got to see, what is it called? Lion King in New York on Broadway, cried. And I was like, I have to be on a stage somewhere that big, whatever that looks like. But to keep it short, personally, to have babies. I'm looking forward to being a mama. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Michelle.
Oops. Okay. So, I really have always wanted to have like a mentor group or something on campus for artists because I have made like every mistake there is possibly to make in being a professional artist. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So I want to shortcut that for artists. I do that when I teach, but on a bigger scale, like have a art mentor group. Also, this is a newer one for me because I'm working with scholarships for the art department. I would like to have an art scholarship in my name. That is a big life goal for me, is to have one so that I can, after I'm gone, it'll be like in my name and students will benefit from that art, specifically painters, art, 2D artists like myself. Those are two major goals.
Nice. I love that. And thinking of leaving a legacy for others in the process. That's fantastic. Pablo, how about you? What goals do you still have out there for yourself, personal and or professional?
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna start with the professional goal. Um, My professional goal, I'm in the process of earning my master's at Sac State, which has been an amazing process. The thesis, though, is very hard. No one told me. I'm just kidding. Everybody told me. But it's actually really exciting. And learning how to research has been like, it makes me see the whole world different. And so that's my professional goal for sure. Personally, and then maybe Brianna can appreciate this because she's on stage. I want to take an improv class. I read a book by Tina Fey, and I'm like, what if I did improv? I got all excited, and I told my buddy who's in theater, and he's like, then just do it. And then now I have nothing holding me back because he's right. So I want to take an improv class. I convinced my wife to do it with me. We're taking the next one.
They have, yeah, they have those in
I know. We
downtown.
found them.
Was it Bossy Pants by
Yes, it was Bossy Pants.
And another book recommendation. That's great. And sounds like a fun next goal. That's awesome. And you're bringing family into it. So work, family, all in one. All right. Well, thank you all for sharing so much. The great insights and advice have been invaluable. Let's go. We don't have a ton of questions in the Q&A. So the first one is for Michelle. What was the process for starting your own classes? Did you have to complete a teaching credential, or was it unnecessary since you aren't affiliated with a school district?
Oh, wow. I love this question. Great question. Yeah, you can go several different avenues, right? Well, I graduated in 97 with BA in two-dimensional art studio, like I said, and I just didn't want to keep going with school. So I worked on my painting, just literally just time in the studio, just painting, from graduation. And then a neighbor actually asked me to teach their kid, and it was very casual in the beginning, and then they wanted to pay me, and so I developed it's kind of went from there. And then I taught in an after school program in elementary schools, like an after school thing, and that's when I got to start working with bigger classes. And so basically I'm a contract worker, and I work at places like the Mac, or I don't know if you know that, in Rancho, or right now I'm teaching out in Folsom. They have a beautiful facility out there. It's a senior center, but it has classes for all ages. So I never went through the schooling to become a credentialed teacher, but I've been teaching for decades. And then I developed the pricing. I got a business coach to help me with the pricing. Right before the pandemic, I tripled my income with this business coach, Kate Farrell, everybody. And then I taught through the pandemic. I had a studio, and I would teach over Zoom. I think I answered the question. So again, this goes to my keep going thing. And as I developed from that one lesson with that one neighbor kid, developing pricing, talking to other art teaching artists, now I get like requests, people emailing me, I saw your card, I saw your flyer, are you still teaching private lessons, and I've scaled it back since I have my new fancy new job at the art department here, but I'm still teaching. I have a summer workshop coming up, drawing, all levels drawing workshop. So I don't know if that helps, but I think I answered that
Yeah.
question.
I
Okay.
think that's awesome. And, a great example of how you can take your skill set and turn it into something that makes money, helps you make a living. And also kind of to our discussion earlier of not being afraid to ask for help and recognizing that you don't have all the answers by employing a business coach to kind of help you shore up that side of the effort. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Can I just say one
Yeah.
more thing? Yeah. So when in teaching, like you just said, I realized you can be professional and you can know a lot, but you don't have to be an expert. You can admit, I have literally made a mistake in my painting in front of class, and you use it as a teaching moment, and just you know what you know, and you know what you're good at, and you learn as a teacher and as an artist as you keep going. And I do recommend being credentialed and go, maybe getting your MFA. That just wasn't the avenue for me.
And that's fair to recognize too. Everybody has a different path. The next thing in the Q&A is more of a statement. So I'm going to take it and kind of twist it. Someone mentioned they're working on keeping their LinkedIn profile current. So I thought that's a great place where we could pivot, and maybe each of you could share, how do you use LinkedIn to further your craft, your business audience, your profession? Brianna, you want to tackle that?
Yeah. So for me, earlier I had mentioned that I focus on community and the arts as an advocate. And so LinkedIn is really my format to where I bring the community into that. And so I'll keep up with like what I'm doing professionally wise and also my initiatives and projects that are more community centered. I can, I've always kind of try to think like if I did want to bring like my dance stuff on there, and sometimes I do, but a lot of I guess with any social media, I try to cater to like the feel of that social media. Um, Now you can say, "Oh, why don't you show, everything?" But there's always just a different type of audience. I guess I just know my audience on LinkedIn. And so they it's not that I'm shameful of putting anything dance related on LinkedIn, but it's just like the type of platform it is. And so that's how I like to use it. I do upkeep it though. So the person that is updating their LinkedIn, that's really great. Um, all forms of media, people will use those. Like I've literally had people say, either I seen you on LinkedIn or I saw your link tree or your website, got your phone number from somebody. People will find you. If they want you, they'll find you. And so I love the fact that this person is updating that. I use mine for the community, but I think it's a great place to host any kind of work or updates of information of what you're doing or getting ready to do.
Thank you. Pablo, Michelle, anything you want to add on use of LinkedIn specific? I see Pablo's hand. Yay.
Yep. So LinkedIn, like I definitely think you should have one. Especially if you're looking for a job, definitely have a LinkedIn. I like what Brianna said about and I would call it like a brand. Like that's the brand you're cultivating for LinkedIn is probably more like professional, less about the creative side, but like what are your credentials or experiences? Like where do you hope to go? I think it's good to do that too. I don't update my LinkedIn that often, but probably about once a year, I'll look at it and see what's on there. I do connect with people on LinkedIn. As a teacher, though, you get a lot of students want to connect with you. You just got to be like I don't want to be the guy that just has all the students. Like that's just not like where I want to go professionally either. But it's good, especially for some students who are really trying to come up and just to have like a professional, especially if you're in an adjacent field. Um, but I think the question was maybe I got off track, Aaron. So LinkedIn, should you do it? Yes. Yeah.
It was
And,
more of a statement that was in the
Jennifer,
chat.
sorry.
Yeah, no. It
Yeah.
was just more of a statement that was in the chat, not really a question. So
Okay.
I kind of turned it into a question, like, how would
Then
you
I'll
use
just
it?
add one more thing. There are so many platforms out there to share like who you are and all that. And I would just say that think of everyone as sort of like an investment in your energy. So really make a decision to like put a lot into maybe one or two and not like 9 or 10. Because you go crazy just trying to update and really maybe what's the most important are your personal connections and that sort of network where you're meeting people, you're going to art shows like we mentioned earlier, right? Like maybe those are more important connections professionally in the long term, but yeah, maintain one or two things. Also, like if you have personal things that are a little bit iffy or maybe won't be like looked upon, like with big smiles by your future employer. Maybe get rid of them or bury them. I mean, serious. Like you don't want some. We actually didn't hire a teacher once to pull up a weird YouTube video, and then my boss was just like, next. It was like so fast. Okay, well, that should have been taken off before she came to the interview because we're doing that when you walk out. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, and that is an excellent point for social media across the board is that is public domain and everybody puts a lot out there in public domain. It's searchable by future employers, current employers. So be purposeful, be thoughtful about how you're representing yourself. We talked earlier about first impressions. It sounds like in Pablo's example that became a first impression of somebody and it didn't help them in their career. So, think about that as you're moving through this world and your space. And With that, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. We are right at the end of our hour. So again, I want to thank Michelle, Brianna, Pablo for giving your time today, volunteering to be here, sharing your experiences and your expertise. And also want to remind everyone in the audience, if you haven't looked, Erin has been posting in the chat a number of fantastic resources, everything from how to claim your membership to finding other alumni on LinkedIn and kind of building your community and your network. We also do have an online platform for mentorship. So if you want to create your profile and find alums like Michelle, Brianna, and Pablo that maybe can give you 30 minutes of their time to talk about your passions and where you want to take your career, that is a great way to do that. And if you want to dip your toe in what that looks like, this Friday, we're having a Career Network Mixer where you can come get a preview of the platform, talk to alumni and students who use the platform, and really kind of jump in with both feet. So with that, I'm going to say good afternoon. Have a great day. Stingers up and go Hornets. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you guys.
Enjoy the day.
You too.